This is Leadership Beyond, your community of conversation.
But this is the first time in my professional career that everybody, 100% of us, are consciously aware we are engaged in the change initiative.
Yeah, everything. I mean, COVID caused us all to go through change, right? At the same time, but our experiences were so different.
Facing these unprecedented times in isolation is pure insanity.
Welcome, everyone, to our Leadership Beyond community of conversation. I'm joined with Tom Rosenak, my co-host, and we're excited to tell you some very exciting news around how we launched this community of conversation last summer and how we are leveling it up to be able to get to you in a better way and to keep the conversations going and to grow our community. So, Tom, do you want to tell them what we're about to cut the ribbon on soon?
I do indeed. Thank you, Adrian. This is really exciting, and thank you all for joining this community of conversation. We are launching a podcast, and we began with some interviews, and they were interesting, talking to interesting people, and we both love doing it. So we decided, let's go to the next level and launch a podcast.
That's right. And we're going to make it easier to find our podcast. We'll be in all the places that you normally go to for podcasts. We have a page on LinkedIn now, so those will be showing up in your feeds when we drop the episodes, and it'll just be a lot easier to join the conversation.
And you will be able to choose audio and visual, or audio only, or for those of us that still read text. So you'll have all three options to learn and join as you see fit.
That's right. So you can sit down and watch us, or you can take a walk and listen to us. So we hope that that makes it even better for you to join us in the community. So I think let's take a step back and share the story, Tom, of how we even got here.
Yes, I catch our breath and then share the story. Adrian and I were making a proposal for a global change initiative. Positive Delta has been doing those kind of initiatives for quite some time, and we were excited to collaborate. Well, I'm going to tell everybody a secret. A pandemic hit. And this was no longer feasible for our client or for us. But we liked working together. So we started asking the question, what can we do? And even where we are now, if we'd said, let's launch a podcast, let's have every other week post something, I don't think we even had the bandwidth to do that. So when we asked, what can we do right where we are to keep collaborating, which is one of our top values, what answer did we come up with, Adrian?
How about a lunch and learn? Let's do a series. Right in the middle of a pandemic, but we were able to start where we could and bring the intention of staying connected, which was so important when we were in the midst of the pandemic and we lost so many of our ways to connect and to collaborate. And so we built up the pandemic. It was, I don't know what, was it like 6 or 7 sessions in the series over the summer of 2020, right?
Yeah. And what that gave us is a rhythm. So if we look at some things you need for something to work, we had a regular time. So Adrian had craziness with our kids going to be in school or not. I had a craziness of having lost a lot of classroom training and not sure of the direction of my business. But we could commit to every week, this much time to prepare, this much time to be with our small group, and this follow-up. And it enabled some certainty. And then the other thing is accountability. We know that we're going to show up with all we have during that limited time.
Yeah, I think that when I reflect back on those times, and I've said this a lot as I reflect on those times, that we were experiencing the same things, but so differently, and it impacted us in different ways, but the emotions were still the same. And having that committed time to come together, we started finding that we really looked forward to that.
Yeah.
And then it almost became a bit of a reprieve from the chaos that and the unknowns that we were living with otherwise.
Yeah, just enough that we could control it. So may I ask you, Adrian, a personal question?
Sure, of course, always.
I will say, why is this community of conversation important to you in this season of your professional journey?
That's a good question. I would say that it's important because, well, because people are important to me. And that's one of our shared values. One of the things that pulled us together was that I always say, and a lot of my work is around change management. Change management is all about the people, and so I lead with a focus on people first. Regardless of what the change is, there's always people involved, and having this community together helps to stay connected to people and to share and build camaraderie around things that are bothering us, things that are deep on our minds, being able to brainstorm and learn from others, other professionals, and other business leaders to help each other along and provide that support. That's what's important to me. How about you, Tom?
Well, you reminded me of one of the things that made me know I wanted to work with you because in my career, I've been on the back end of change initiatives where it wasn't people first. And then we reorganized things in a way that made sense, but the people don't know how to talk to each other. So I would come in and help with that. So immediately I said, we have the same value there, people first. And so that brought us together. And for me, it's a thing that I keep discovering. I implode if I'm not talking to interesting people doing interesting things in the world. And sometimes I get off on the me, 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 me. I've got to do this and it's all got to be me. And when I do that, I lose the connection. So it's people in the abstract. I love people, but it's this person in the particular. And this community allows for both. Every time we interview someone, I'm a little bit different.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly right. It's a grounding almost. It's a reminder. So many times I have been racing from one thing to the next thing, and then we come together and we do one of our interviews, and I'm reminded again of the things that really matter. And those conversations are some weeks, especially in the midst of the really tough times of the pandemic, that was a lifeline. It was a
yeah.
lifeline to have those conversations and just be reminded of, hey, what really matters here? You're running around, racing around, but you have your people. And that's
I'm
really what
really
matters.
glad you used the word remind several times. And that is not redundant because many of the insights we get are indeed reminders.
Mhm.
And I quote you all of the time because you're more concise than me, even in this interview, people can see, or in this little discussion, that's true. Is Adrian said one time, she said, we're all experiencing the same thing, only differently. And she and I are both predictive index specialists, talent optimization specialists. So we do a lot of work around different wiring, but there's differences in season, differences. I mean, we could just list all the differences. We don't need to here. But there isn't any richness to diversity if we don't know how to talk to one another. So just saying, Adrian's different than I am, well, that's interesting. But what are
Mhm.
you going to do with it? We're going to look
Mhm.
for ways where she can come from her uniqueness and I can come from mine, but we create a we. And that's the goal of this community of conversation. would you like to share a little bit about some of the things that are coming up in this community? You mentioned the podcast, which is launching within 30 days. It's exciting. Tell me what the benefits are of subscribing, and also so what they get, and also ways that individuals can contribute.
Right. We've got a great offer as part of our launch for, for our podcast dropping. We're also making some updates to our website, aleadershipbeyond.com. You'll find us on LinkedIn. And by joining our community, we are offering an assessment that gives you some insight on your personal work styles. This is part of the talent optimization work that Tom and I both do. And it's not just an assessment. It's not just, oh, that's great, put that on the shelf. How many of us have done those, right? And it's informational, it's great knowledge, and then you forget all about it a week from then, and you fall right back into the same patterns if you're not very diligent about reflecting on those results. What we can offer with this predictive index assessment is a deeper look at not only your individual work styles, but your work styles in collaboration with those you work with your teams. So when you start looking at the teams and how all of those work styles play together to create a team style, then line that up against the work that you have to do as that team. What barriers are you coming up against? What strengths do you have? Where might you need to add in another team member to balance some things out or to supplement some things because your style doesn't allow for a particular activity that is needed in a natural way? And so by joining our community, we're offering that to you. Take the assessment and have a conversation with us to learn a little bit more about that and bring it together with your team and then learn about your teams.
Well, that is so exciting. And to break this down is all subscribers have an opportunity to the assessment. And with that assessment, you will get a rich report. And we're strongly, because we want to meet you, partially selfish, recommending that you don't just read the report, but that you sign up for a discovery call. And I will make a promise. 100% of the people that take 6 minutes to do the assessment and 30-minute discovery call will gain at least an actionable insight. It's an absolute promise. You'd have to be brain dead not to, and we don't have any brain dead peeps in our community. So we would love to do that, but you'll never get any pressure. So take the assessment. You will get the report. We will invite you to discovery, but not, you're all busy. And we just look forward to getting better acquainted with you.
Well, and that was a concise way to say that, Tom. So you can be concise, can't you? And I just got so excited. I want to tell them all about everything.
Well, you're training me, so
and you're training me.
We're training one
that's
another.
The beauty
and
of this.
and that is the beauty. What a great way to end it. We are in this together, and we invite you to join the community of conversation. And those of you who have reached out and contributed know that it really is our intention for it to be a conversation, because we know in the information age, you can take your straw and suck from information all over the world, but information without formation never leads to transformation. So we're working on this together.
Yeah, that's right. And we look forward to those future conversations with you all.
See you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Thank you. Every 2 weeks, we didn't mention this, every 2 weeks, you will hear from us, and more if you want to. Thank you very much. And thank you, Adrian.
Thank you, Tom. Have a great one, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Beyond podcast. We hope you benefited from this conversation as much as we have. We invite you to join our community of conversation. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to sign up at aleadershipbeyond.com for free materials and updates. That's aleadershipbeyond.com. Join us in 2 weeks for our next episode.